Good evening, dear viewers and listeners of Smart 24 TV. My name is Dr. Joseph Tidewa, and together with Dr. Henry Clark Tisembo, and he's a PhD holder in economic management, right?
Financial economics and a PhD in development finance.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And it's a pleasure to also realize the work you do, both in the academia and the senior lecture at UMI.
Yes.
And as well as a CEO of D.R.C. Uganda.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Please kindly greet the viewers.
A very good evening to all our viewers out there, and once again it's a pleasure to be on the show to share insights, knowledge, perspectives, but also to generate some content for conversation, for discussion on issues which are pertinent to our country, but also our country amidst other countries in the region and continent. Thank you so much. Very good evening.
Thank you one more time, and we'll be discussing in this program that is known as Policon, discussing the politics and the economics, both of the country, the region, and as well Smart 24 TV doing business. We look as far as also the whole continent, but we begin from home, and that means we are part of the economic transformational agenda, not only Uganda, but for the region and for the continent.
Yes.
Our dear viewers, we have an interesting topic to share with you. And in this, we know, and we will continue to have a master of this, that information is power.
Yeah.
You may be wanting to survive, but you don't know how the information, how you can economically survive or economically prosper, from survival to prosperity. And in this way, we look at the call for security and reliable regional economic integration. And our major question will focus on the current situation in the East African community, with a number of developments that of recent, since this year, includes in having the partner states that ranges from at first with only 3, but now we've extended as far as the borders, and not removing the borders, but the integration, the community, it has now gone to number 7 of the partner states who have agreed to come into this formation.
Yeah.
So with East Africa regional force in the midst of this, there is a crisis in Democratic Republic of Congo. And at first, the military force to come together as a unitary military force to be able to grant the people of East Africa security, it was debated upon and agreed that they can come up as a force. So here we are, and we ask whether this force and other foreign interventions we've had before since the last 20 years, the existence of the United Nations, their force that has been monitoring the developments of peace in the region, whether it will resolve the crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and which also has some implication to the neighborhood, especially Uganda, as well as Uganda. Our dear guests were aware that the ADF, under the understanding of, through the understanding between the UPDF, the Uganda People Defense Forces, the government of Uganda, the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo, it was found out necessary to come into an agreement, a security agreement, to sign a pact that will lead to whip out, number 1, the roads resistance army, which we are proud the government of Uganda to have succeeded. Number 2, also to deal with the Allied Democratic Forces, the rebel outfit that ran to Democratic Republic of Congo. And in the midst of this, we are aware that there have been extended conflict that ranges from 2000 as far as 1998. It has taken time, where there is another number of militias and rebel groups in the East Africa, in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, causing insecurity both in the very Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and as well bringing a security threat to Uganda and also Rwanda. And at the end of it all, it also affects the rest of the member state. It brings an understanding whether one can, especially to be skeptical, whether one can do business, can have an economic integration amidst this crisis. It has a long story to tell since 1964, up to where we are, but we hope for the best amid these challenges. It's a pleasure to have you, our dear guest.
Thank you
and
so
we'd
much.
like to share with East Africa and this TV reaches to all these regions
Yes.
to see how we can crystallize the gist of the matter and come up possibly with the strategies that even policy makers, those who are in government, those who are in this kind of dynamics, to see how we can have a stable East African community. It's a pleasure to have you, to receive your insights.
Yeah,
into
thank
that
you so
discussion.
much. And also, it's always a pleasure, Doctor, to have to share insights. You've given a very good background, and also good to see that you're picking us up from 1964, then the 70s, so the breakup. You see, we had the origin of the East African community, with the purpose to have countries cooperate and work together for the welfare and good of their people, right? In multiple aspects, both the political angle, post-independence, how do they strengthen each other in leadership skills, but also professionalization of the armies to defend the borders of the different countries, trade to see, and when I talk about trade, is more of the economic and also human resources, the labor force to transition. One could work anywhere within the East African community, and many others. Come the 70s, we saw, or we witnessed the history of a breakup of the East African community. And the East African community breaks up because of countries becoming leaders, representing countries, building egos and becoming hostile to members who are within their own community. But also, not to put so much blame on them. It's like if you are a father in a house, if you have children, don't expect these children, even if they are twins or triplets or quadruplets, to always be on the same page. At some point, one is going to stand up and renegade, or becomes defiant. Or you'll find them having some issues within. So it's not always a straight plate. The fact that they were not born on the same day, and East Africa is very clear that we all did get independence on the same day, like synchronized, that already sends a big signal. But let's say that when Tanzania, during the expansionist mission of the then president of the Republic of Uganda to recover what he says belonged to the territory of Uganda and was ceded to other countries, like it was given to other countries through the colonial demarcation of Africa. He wanted all those places back. But also they were saying that, no, these are part of us. So you see that some issues, why you even raised it right from the start, have a long history that many ignore, yet that history can't be lost along the way. That there was more peace from a historical perspective when Africa lived as kingdoms than when they became colonies and later countries. And maybe perhaps now that they are established sovereign states, potentially the issue of borders will be addressed. You spoke about the security point of view. East Africa was made up of 3 countries, the community. It was Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, our Ugandan country. These three were the East African community. But along the way, you realize that come the years, as it's trying to build up again from the mid-80s, accelerated more in the 90s and in the 2000s, you realize that Rwanda comes on board. We have Burundi. Now comes the Republic of Southern Sudan, or South Sudan, and also the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That makes it what, 7 countries?
Oh, yes.
7 countries.
And I hear that Somalia is also on the way.
Somalia is on the way. Potentially Ethiopia also.
Yes, please.
Is also on the way. Today I was having a conversation in the morning with my regional head for Horn of Africa. I was like, where do we place Ethiopia? Because it's trading, it's more oriented towards East Africa, but again it's in your region as Horn of Africa. So at Dali, because we operate across the continent and globally, so I was asking him, where do we put Ethiopia? Do we put it in Horn of Africa, or we pull it to the...
So that north, or is northeastern?
So that is Horn of Africa is towards the ocean, where there is Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, those countries. That's Horn of Africa. Yes. If you know the map of Africa, there is that seeming horn which reaches out to the Suez Canal around there, what they used to call the Red Sea. But anyway, we resolved that probably we should initially have it under Horn of Africa. But of course, in the corridors, you can hear that it might be coming towards East Africa, because the road now to Ethiopia, back in the years we used to make 4 days to move to Ethiopia, 4 days and nights. Now it's
they
2.
bring in, as we talk about the Great Lakes region,
Yes.
and the Sub-Saharan Africa,
Yeah.
of which now brings in the geographical features, especially the division of this, the Great Lakes region,
Yes.
and the Sub-Saharan Africa,
Yeah.
of which now brings in the geographical features, especially the division of this River Nile,
Yes.
bringing some of the countries the other side,
Yes.
especially as it stretches to the north.
It stretches the north.
So do we think, because of that, we do be hopeful that it will easily work with us because of that kind of attachment?
You see, when you're looking at the East African community, I like the way you picked it up, that from a political angle, when you look at it from an economic angle,
That's right.
and for them they focus on the economic, but when you're looking at issues of integration and cooperation,
Yes, please.
when you're looking at the protocols, there are common market protocols, there is a single market, there are legal protocols, there are political, social, economic, and you have to address them as far as each particular component is concerned, but integrated. Let us say, I'll give you an example, the coming of the D.R.C to the East African community offers a lot of economic hope because of the vastness of the country. It's very resourced. The Republic of South Sudan, same. Very resourced, natural resources that can be able, even if utilized well, from exploration to final products, this region can live for thousands of years in prosperity because of just the resources that are in these 2 countries. But again, there are issues of a Uganda, Republic of Uganda, which already is in the midst of an entanglement. You know what an entanglement is? You find that you're in the midst of a situation where you have to play big brother or mediator because you are the center. You talked about 1998, right? That's when the rebuilding of all this
1999
99
and 2000.
and 2000. When we were having conversations of the East African community and also plans of a probable expansion of the community, we very well knew that there had just been the genocide and the war in Rwanda.
That was of 1994.
1994. And 1994, we very well know that the history is a certain ethnicity group which was making a whole lot of refugees in Uganda and neighboring countries, Tanzania, went back home. Those who were home were now kicked out. Who were in power.
Yes.
Where did they go? To the neighboring countries, of which one of them is the Democratic Republic of Congo, because it's so vast a country. Being vast a country, you can find square miles of land, no one habiting them, but very fertile lands, very equatorial rainforests. You can be in there and no one ever knows you existed, even
So
for
you're
generations.
helping me to make an account. It's 1994, now it is 2020.
22.
That's 38 years.
Are they 38? 98 to 94,
Yeah.
94 to
No,
2022. The
38.
not 28?
Okay, 28, right.
Yeah.
Yes. I was
Okay. Yeah, because I know that 38 are bonds of 1984. At least that one I know for some reason.
28 years.
28 years. 28 years is not so short a time, but in history, it can be short and long. Because one, it has its own impact and effects. The first impact and effect is that people left Rwanda, ended up in D.R.C. as refugees now, but they were in power. 28 years, if somebody left a country, even at 3 years, how old are they now? 31, right?
Yeah, 31.
They have grown knowing we were kicked out of the country we call home. And we are in here,
We are in a foreign country.
we are in a foreign country. That is in their minds. You've heard of the Interahamwe, now probably making the majority of the M23.
FD, the other rebel outfit.
Yeah, there are a number of
Then
rebel-
Interahamwe, yes. the
yeah,
M23.
Interahamwe, M23. So there are quite a number of rebel entities. But you see, when they were leaving, they left armed. They left armed. To them, you brought in the aspect of the UN. What has the UN or the United Nations done in terms of peace, reconciliation, justice, efforts for the people who left the country? Inside the country, there's been healing, say in Rwanda. Gachacha courts.
Gachacha courts.
President Kagame now.
And global also the International Criminal Court.
Yeah, the International Criminal Court, which I'm very sure that many don't even respect in Africa lately. They're just like, that is just an entity there. And I'm sure that even the East African community itself the former president of Kenya
Mm.
was in the ICJ
Mm.
for crimes against humanity. Is it in 2000?
And
Was it 17 or 2007?
2007.
I think 2007.
Yes.
So they were there for questioning
Mm.
with his deputy
Mm.
or
The
vice
death of the
president.
2,000 people.
Yeah. Now they were acquitted.
Mm.
The president is there, but he went there in a more dramatic. It was kind of like stage managed, I would say, for those who follow deep-rooted instances. But who is the president now? The VP of the former president. That's His Excellency Ruto.
Mm.
Are the policies going to change much? I don't think. Probably enhance more business drive for those lower cadres or people who don't have. Well, let's go back to D.R.C because this is, I'm trying to build a case for you to see,
And for the viewers.
and for the viewers,
Mm.
to see where we are headed as an economic integrated community
And where we are coming from.
and where we're coming from.
Mm.
That 28 years, now somebody 31 could even be a major in the rebel army, the so-called rebels.
Mm.
Uganda has had foreign armies attacking it, which they call rebels.
Mm.
Lord's Resistance Army,
Yeah, which started as a civil.
which started in the north,
Mm.
and it was also a result of the 90s when, after taking over power in 1986,
Mm.
87, they were taken more of north. So northern Uganda never had peace for over 20 years.
Mm.
The Gulu, Acholi, Lango, all those areas in Uganda.
Mm.
Lord's Resistance Army. Where did they flee to? Sudan, southern Sudan,
Mm.
or into the Congo
Good time
jungles.
operating from there.
Yeah, into the Congo jungles.
Mm.
Now, when you look at such dynamics in lieu of integration and cooperation as the East African community,
Mm.
those are matters that can't be underlooked.
Mm.
If you want to bring in the UN, you can say that probably as they focused on keeping peace missions, AMISOM, and the many others, they should also have focused on issues around justice, reconciliation, peace building.
Mm.
And of course, I know that many organizations went there.
Before we go far, there is a good point that you are giving to us, and I pick interest in it. In the process to have a reliable economic integration, and I picked it up so seriously in this first session, there should have been a consideration of justice.
Yeah.
Among these partner states whosoever come on, and the framework, the legal framework should be in favor of ensuring that there is justice.
There is justice,
And also reconciliation.
reconciliation.
Then you also talked about peace. I'm just putting
Yes.
an underline on it. Justice, reconciliation, and peace.
Yes.
But in the process of it, there is something I want to insinuate.
Yes.
Don't you think, without having honesty in the pursuit of the three, still it remains a dream than a reality to have the economic integration, honest among the partner states and basically the leaders?
Yes.
You can conclude on that as well for the break.
Yeah, as we go for the break, I would say that the aspect of honesty, I would wish to not sincerely call it honesty,
Truth.
but I would like to say what are the vested interests of each of the leaders? What are the vested interests of President Paul Kagame and Rwanda, or President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda? What are those interests they are representing for their countries? because you don't just end up in a war or fighting each other in a community or in a foreign country which has now joined you, unless if you have a reason for that. So if it's about honesty, probably they would have called up these different groups and said, let us sit on the table. What is in it for you as we are going to onboard another country? But you see also, probably shall get into the economic bit of it, that is it more about the interests of the country to secure its borders as a sovereign state, or to use those who fled in the other country to be able to reach the economic resources of that other country? Could it be used as an entry point?
Now, while going forward,
Yes.
and in this first session, realizing the background of what has caused this, as we advocate through our program today for peace, a call for peace and reliable economic integration, there cannot be economic integration where there is no peace. And it's not by mistake that we are digging into the foundation. The Bible says that if the foundations are weak, what can the righteous do? So even if we have big men, the head of states, and we realize that the foundations remain shaky, we can not easily at all, even if we make it a song, we can, as we already have a song and so good ones, we cannot realize the integration. So the foundations are important.
Very important.
And having said that, it comes at a time when we are calling for peace. And it is a special case, especially for this integration. We've seen other integrations elsewhere.
Yes.
But ours is sensitive, our dear guests and the viewers, that I would like to make a comment on, where those who are joined together, apart from Tanzania and apart from Kenya, those also, they face their own wars. We are talking of the post-independence, because that's the origin of it.
Yeah.
Uganda had it rough with the TZ, and it led to the collapse, where there was aggression. They let Idi Amin, may his soul rest in eternal peace, as he became aggressive and said, no, I'm just right now going to extend my boundary as far as TZ. And the difference, the rest was
he was recovering.
The language was,
he was recovering.
So the language was fire to fire.
Fire to fire.
It ended that way.
Yes.
Then in the process, when we knew that is the 1970s, we entered into politics of 1980s.
Yes.
Of which now Tanzania is supporting Uganda to have a stable state.
Yeah.
And as we were a bit like recovering, already in the midst of a downfall, the genocide Rwanda starts.
Yeah.
As we're trying to recover, also we're still fighting war in the north. As that was happening, we understand what was Southern Sudan, with that collaboration of the Bashir, right? And until when there was this division and the Southern, they had to come with us.
Yeah.
So Mali, we are talking about to join us, also it is facing challenge. It's a fractured community. Yeah. And in the midst of it, we know the story of Burundi. Yeah. And now on the way, as we're trying to see now, let us consolidate our efforts and sustain this. We are now in the D.R.C crisis. M23 is a challenge. So as we'll be coming back from our short break, those are realities we'd like now to look for the solution. Having said that, and I thank you for your submission for the background, but we need now to punch holes into, to ensure that we fill these gaps, and then we'll be able to move forward. The force is ready to take us on, the military force, to whip away the rebel outfits, but we need to realize the dream. Stay tuned as we meet in the next session. Our dear guest, Dr. Clark, will be taking us now through, in the economic point of view, but also politically, how elsewhere the ECOWAS and so forth, they have been able to manage their integration, whether now the current challenges can be resolved and we have a better East African community.